Welcome back, everyone. It's been kind of a hot minute since I last uploaded, but it was all due to technical difficulties, but I'm back up and ready to go, so let's talk Squid Game. So unless you've been hiding under a rock recently, you've probably heard of the #1 show on Netflix, which surprisingly a lot of Korean media seems to be getting a lot of attention nowadays, which is pretty cool. So Squid Game falls under a subgenre I like to call the death game genre, which basically means a series of deadly games that our protagonists have to endure and survive, which there's actually an abundance of those kind of shows over in the East, including things like Gaunt's Future Diary, Alice in Borderland, which is another recent Netflix show, but over here in the West we mostly just have things like The Hunger Games. So the story is actually pretty simple. We follow our main character Gi-hun, who's kind of the epitome of being a loser. He lives with his mom, kind of living off of her, is a deadbeat dad, but really wants to be a better dad. He's in incredible debt, so he's desperate to find any way to make his financial situation even better. And he's given the opportunity to sign up for a series of games run by a super wealthy organization who likes to run these games for their own entertainment. And there is a huge cash prize for anyone who wins. But unbeknownst to our main character and the other 455 participants that signed up, they come to find out that losing at these games has fatal results. With the first game being a lethal version of green light, red light, represented by this giant doll, which you've probably seen all over the internet. And just from there, the other 5 games that take place are very inventive and creative and are filled with all kinds of drama. What's great about the show is that we do get to know a lot of these characters, and we get to see a lot of the drama work out. And when a character dies, you do feel legitimately awful. So the real question here is that, is this show really worth the hype? And is it really that much better than any of the other death game series? And a short answer, I think so. Whereas some of these other death game shows have some kind of supernatural or sci-fi element, or have some kind of exaggerated reality, this one's very down to earth and is actually believable that something like this could occur, which really feeds into its commentary about classism all that much better. Now, this show is far from being the only story that talks about classism, but I think the commentary does actually go much deeper than that. It's clear that what's being explored here is the perspective of whether or not good or evil exists, and what it means to be super wealthy and super poor. There's a line that a character shares saying, what's the difference between someone who's really desperate for money and someone who has more money than they know what to do with? And the answer being, they're both miserable. Now, part of me really wants to stomp out that argument right from the get-go, but it's still fascinating getting these perspectives. And this actually really comes together with one of the final scenes of the season, where there's a meeting between 2 characters at a deathbed, and this scene is just so powerful. It was actually my favorite in the entire show. I can't talk about it due to spoilers, but I do feel like it culminates the overall message of the story in one powerful moment. There's a couple other subplots going on in the show too, including a behind-the-scenes operation and a cop that's trying to infiltrate the organization. Which unfortunately that story winds up being a little incomplete, but it sounds like we're going to have a season 2. Which I was a little surprised to hear because the creator-director Hwang Dong-hyuk, which, bear with me with the Korean pronunciations, had described how he initially conceived the show all the way back in 2008 and has been struggling to get any kind of funding for it up until Netflix was able to pick up the project. And the stress was so bad behind this project that he actually lost 6 teeth. Which, however that works, it's shocking to hear that he's willing to hop on to season 2. Respect. Another thing to note is that a lot of native Koreans on the internet have been saying that the subtitles are inaccurate enough that a lot of meaning and nuance is being lost on Western audiences, which is a real shame because there's clearly a lot being explored here in the story. So despite the fact that this show seems to really be about these violent, terrible, action-oriented sequences, the show is really more so about the drama, the characters, and the people's perspectives. And that's what makes it such a powerful show. Which on top of that, the art direction is just masterful. This is a very visually pleasing series. There's also another interesting exploration in trying to find happiness, especially through a lot of childhood nostalgia, which, considering nostalgia is a big deal right now, the show also becomes relevant in that capacity. And this is represented really well by the first scene in the show, where a character is narrating his happiest memory being in his childhood when he was playing the titular Squid Game with his friends. And it's really fascinating seeing these childhood games being distorted by these really ugly adolescent viewpoints. The visuals in the show really feed into the overall message of the story. So do I recommend the show to everybody? I would say not for the faint of heart, but otherwise, this is a really good story, and I'm really excited to see where this goes in season 2. That's why Squid Game gets my score of 4.5 stars. If there was any nitpick I would have with the show, I would say that sometimes it gets a little predictable about who's going to die or how it's going to proceed, which, to be fair though, the story wouldn't be quite as good if it didn't follow that predictable path. And I do feel like there's maybe some more nuanced messages that I'm missing because of the subtitles, so that probably holds it back from scoring even higher. So guys, thanks for watching. Have you seen Squid Game? And if not, what else have you been watching lately? Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned right here if you all want to see more.